welcome back. My name is Judith. I am one half of the Nutty Nitty Sisters. Together with my sister Julie, we create videos sharing our love of all things fibery and the fiber arts. If this is your first time joining, welcome. We appreciate you clicking on the video and hope you will stick around. If you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for returning. We definitely appreciate you coming back time and time again. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It doesn't cost anything, and we would love for you to join our fiber community here on YouTube. And if you do enjoy the video, please give it a like. That helps support our channel. It helps grow the channel and grow our community, which we definitely appreciate as well. Today is the 23rd of January, and I am starting my November breed study with Maine Fiber Workshop. So if you have not seen one of my fiber or my breed study videos before, this is a breed study that I purchase each month from Maine Fiber Workshop, and she has a selection of either four or you can get either 1 4-ounce braid or 2 4-ounce braids. I choose to get 2 because I just love the scrumptious fiber. But you can start anytime or cancel anytime. This is in no way, shape, or form affiliated. There's no kickback for us. I just met Kendra at a fiber event. She mentioned she was doing a breed study, which I've always wanted to do. And so I definitely expressed an interest and have been with her since she started this in August. The fiber that we're doing this study is Zwartbles. So I did find the proper pronunciation in Kendra's newsletter is Zwartbles. The phonetic spelling is Zvartbles, Zwartbles. So this is a fiber that originates in the Netherlands. It is black or dark brown. The staple length is 4 to 5 inches. The micron count is 30 to 32. They are traditionally used for milk or meat, not wool. However, the dark color and ease of handling make it a nice spinning fiber. It makes durable yarn, which can be springy. That is according to Kendra's card that is included in the box. And then she also has been doing a newsletter. And some of the things that I found interesting in her newsletter, along with the correct pronunciation of the fiber or the sheep, is according to the Zwartbles Sheep Association in Great Britain, any white in the wool is considered undesirable, which is interesting. The Zwartbles sheep are entirely dark colored, except for a blaze on their face, occasionally a couple of socks, and just the tip of their tail is dipped. That's how you can tell a purebred Zwartbles sheep, in addition to the fiber that doesn't grow on the feet, it doesn't grow on the face. It's very crimpy and bouncy. So let's look at the fiber. Here it is. Beautiful, beautiful brown chocolatey fiber. It is so amazing. There are a few little white bits in this fiber, which I'm okay with. Obviously, I don't care. It's beautiful and amazing. Look at that fiber. It is very crimpy, but it's a very small crimp. It's kind of wavy almost. And it is so pretty. It is a bit toothy, but it's not scratchy. It doesn't have that prickle factor. It is a very, very nice fiber. So let's talk a little bit more about the sheep. So the males are between 100 kilograms to 220 pounds. The females are traditionally about 85 kilograms or 187 pounds. They are considered polled sheep, which means they have no horns. You do get some silvering in older sheep. So I thought that was kind of neat. They get gray just like us. They are a cross between the Friesian sheep, which is a traditionally a milking sheep, and the Drunt. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this correct. Drunthi. They are very docile, very friendly. They're excellent mothers. A ewe can easily milk triplets with no problem at all. Their fleeces are between 6.5 to 10 pounds. They did become critically endangered in the 1980s. There were only around 500 remaining sheep, and now there are over 12,500 registered purebred Zwartbles, which is very good. In the 1990s, they were imported to the UK, and the rams there are crossbred strictly to produce meat lambs. And the lambs are always black. They're excellent show animals because they have such a striking appearance. Again, the true bred has that blaze. The tail is only very slightly dipped. There's no white on the belly, the ears, or on the fleece. So that is the Zwartbles in a nutshell. I did have a chance to do a little bit of sampling of the fiber, and I'll show you what I came up with. So this is a 2-ply, and this is spun. I tend to spin quite thin, so this is my sort of my default single, and it does have a little bit of elasticity to it, not a whole bunch. It is beautiful as a nice thin fiber, or a nice thin yarn. This is the same single chain plied. I'm not a great chain plier, so obviously it's a little bit of a mess. But it has the same sort of give, not a lot of give, but it is a very, very nice 3-ply as well. And then I tried to do something a little thicker because I tend to spin so thin. I want to get back to maybe a little bit thicker yarn. I was thinking a little bit thicker yarn with this. So it's very uneven. I tried a couple of different methods in this yarn. I tried long draw, some backward short draw, a little bit of from the fold, which was not successful at all. And I don't look forward to pulling all that apart into little folded pieces. But I do like the thicker yarn. I was unable to find a lot of information in the spinners books that I have. So the field guide and the Fleece and Fiber source book had a lot of information. The Fleece and Fiber source book actually says that it's quite easy to handle any kind of spinning. There's really not a lot of challenge in spinning it. Whatever your preferred method of spinning, it will take well to. So I unfortunately was not able to find much in the spinning book or the Yarnitecture book on Zwartbles. It wasn't mentioned or wasn't in their index. So I think I'm going to try to accomplish this sort of thicker yarn. It's going to take some practice. I have been spinning so thin for so long. I've been getting some lace weight yarn. Getting a thick yarn is going to be a bit of a challenge for me, but I like to do it once in a while because when you do spin thin, it's hard to go back. So I want to keep trying to get back to my roots, so to speak, and the original, even if it's kind of chunky and funky and bumpy like this, I think that'll be fine. Because all the resources that I looked into said that Zwartbles is a really great yarn for stitch definition. So I think like cables or a real textured pattern would be beautiful with this yarn. So I think I'm going to try to go a little bit bigger. I may not go as far as worsted, but maybe a heavy DK. I don't know. We'll see. I'm not sure where I'm going to shoot the singles for, but I'll do some calculations and we'll see what I can come up with. So I will see you on the other side of the bobbin. Something interesting that I thought was worth noting while I was spinning this fiber is I did find it a little difficult to spin it directly from the top and get the thickness that I was looking for because I'm a bit out of practice of spinning thicker yarn. it was just a little bit challenging for me to not break into the thinner default yarn. So what I found was a little bit easier was to strip the top down to smaller pieces. So this is the original thickness of the top, and I split it into thirds just to get a little bit smaller piece to spin with. And that just makes it easier for me to pull from one place rather than going across the top. I also found there's a big difference between drafted and pre-drafted. So this is undrafted and this is a pre-drafted piece. And I did find it a lot easier to consistently pull and maintain my drafting zone from a pre-drafted piece. So I'm also working on right now pre-drafting those 1/3 pieces of the top to get a more just a little bit more consistent and more pleasurable spin. So I thought that was worth sharing. Another tip that I would recommend is if you are spinning a dark fiber and wearing dark clothing like I am, and if you struggle with sight like I do, is to get something to lay over your lap that is a lighter color. It just helps to be able to see the drafting zone a little bit better against the light background than my dark pants. It also helps protect your clothing from all the fluff. And vice versa, if you're doing a light yarn and you have light clothing, to have a dark background so that you can see what you're doing. This is one that I got from the Woolery. It has little pockets here. So it is a nice addition to my spinning tools. However, just a piece of cloth, a pillowcase would work just fine as well. So I have spun a fair amount on the bobbin here, and I'm using the 1 to 7.5 ratio whirl. I find that gives enough spin to the single, but it's not too quick that I can easily fix mistakes on the fly. So here is what I have on the bobbin so far. And I am getting these singles. They're not very consistent, but that's okay. I want it to look very rustic and hand spun, obviously. And I am getting anywhere between, some of this is upwards of 12 perhaps per inch. Most of it is falling right at about 16 to 14. You probably can't see on that. So most of it is falling right in that 14 to 16 range. Now I've loosened this up quite a bit because I know that this is going to plump a little bit. And so I want to make sure that I'm allowing for that when I'm measuring my wraps per inch, that this is going to loosen up and unspin as I'm plying it. So some of this is as much as 12 or 10. But I'm okay with that variation because I want it to be very inconsistent and very rustic looking for the project that I'm hoping to do with this. So yeah, that's how it's looking. And then as a ply back test, let's take a look at what it's going to look like, hopefully, as a finished product. So there is kind of what I'm looking at a finished yarn being, if you can see that. And that is coming in at a solid 8 to 10 wraps per inch. So it's going to be a very lovely, very plump worsted or Aran weight yarn. Hi, I thought I would share the first bobbin is done and it did turn out great. It was a struggle, as I thought, in getting the singles to be a little plumper than I normally spin because I'm out of practice. And another thing is I'm using my Louette S17, which is a single belt bobbin driven drive, and it has an adjustable brake tension on the flyer. So the tension I rarely use. It's usually not even engaged. And I do find that I have to keep that area lubricated very well for there not to be any resistance or any quicker uptake than I intend. And that was a bit of a struggle with this yarn. And I'm also pre-drafting my fiber a little bit. I found at the beginning that that was making it very easy to maintain my drafting zone without going back and forth across the top. But I did find that it was a little bit of a challenge if I over pre-drafted, that it was kind of pulling the fiber right out of my hand. So two things to be very careful of with this fiber is don't over pre-draft, and if you are using an Irish tension wheel, to make sure that you are getting the proper tension that you're comfortable with so that it's not kind of pulling that fiber out of your hands. So that is what I learned from the first bobbin. Now I'm going to spin the other singles and we'll apply these two together and see what we come up with. One thing that I think might save this yarn and make it the plumper yarn that I'm looking for is I have seen several posts on the group where the yarn, they've said that the yarn does plump a little bit. Not as much as the Cormo, but it does bloom a little bit after washing. So with any luck, I'll still get my 9 to 10 or 11 wraps per inch and keep it in the worsted range for this yarn. So let's go back to the wheel. Before we go to the wheel, let's talk about the difference between no prep, which you see on the left, and the pre-drafted fiber, which you see on the right. I wanted to explain a little bit about the pre-drafting that I've been talking about, why I pre-draft and how it changes the fiber, and also what I mean by over pre-drafting, right? So here are two pieces of this fiber. This is Warp Blessed fiber that I am spinning, and they're of pretty equal size. They're from the same strip, so they're about the same width. They're about the same length. So the reason why I pre-draft is when you're spinning, when I'm spinning, I won't say you because this is probably a thing that's unique to me, but when I'm spinning, I find that if I'm just trying to spin from the top, especially with a toothy fiber like this is, that it can sometimes be a challenge for me to pull the fiber and draft it out into the drafting zone like that, and then have it spin. So if I pre-draft it, do a little pre-drafting, it sort of does that pull. You see where the fibers are kind of separating there? It gives a little bit of that before I go to the wheel. Not completely, but a little bit. When I go to the wheel, I'll still need to, have it draft out a little bit more while I put the twist in it on the wheel. So the reason that that's the reason why I do the pre-drafting. So this is what pre-drafting will do to the fiber. Let me show you what this will look like and how I pre-draft. So when I pre-draft, I take what is the staple length. In this case, the staple length of that fiber is about that long. It's about 3 inches. So that is about the staple length. And the staple length is the point where you pull the fiber and it won't come apart. Once I get beyond that 3 inches, you can see the fiber sort of starts separating. So this fiber is about 3 inches in length, closer to 4 inches. So what I want to do on this piece of fiber is I want to hold my hands just beyond that 4-inch range and just give a little bit of a pull. And then I'll move my hands down and give a little bit of a pull. Not very much, just a tiny little bit. And you can see that those fibers start to separate a little bit. And we'll go down the rest of this piece of fiber. So if I put my hands closer together like this, I'm not going to get any draft at all. If I pull it too far, pull apart too far, I'm not really separating the fibers in along the length of this this strip. So here is the result of my pre-drafting. This is the piece of fiber that we had before we drafted. And I'll fold it in half so we can kind of see it all in frame. So that is the length of it there. This is the drafted one, and we can see this one is considerably longer than its undrafted sister. So that's what pre-drafting does. It kind of lengthens out the fiber, and for me, it makes it easier to spin it. Now, what do I mean by over pre-drafting? So again, I'm going to hold this the about 4 inches apart just until it starts to give way. And there are some times where, as I'm drafting this, I don't move this hand far enough up. So I actually end up double drafting in this area where I have I've already drafted. And so I'll show you, I get a weak spot like that. So this is a very toothy wool, and it does grab itself as I'm drafting it. But if I'm too close to where it's within that staple length, I'm pulling too hard, and I've just over pulled it. And sometimes it'll separate entirely. Oops, that's got a little VM in it. Sometimes it'll separate entirely. Sometimes it'll just get a very weak spot in it like that, where I've kind of got the staple length here, and then these fibers are just barely hanging on. When I'm spinning at the wheel, that piece of the roving is going to be a weak spot. And so as I'm drafting and as I'm spinning, I get to this spot, and it's going to get a lot thinner than what I originally wanted it to spin. So that's the challenge that I'm having with my pre-drafting, is if I over pre-draft, then I get these little weak spots. And that can happen, like I said, if I'm too close. So I'm kind of fighting the fiber to draft, and I over fight it. Or if I'm too far apart and I don't really move this hand up enough, and so I'm double drafting some of the same fibers, then I'll get that same weakness. So that is some of the challenges that I'm finding with this fiber. Again, it's a great toothy fiber, which makes me want to pre-draft it. And the challenge is just practicing that pre-drafting and making sure that I'm staying within that staple length and not overdrafting it. So I hope that explains things, and let's go spin this fiber. finished the other bobbin last night, and here they are. They do look pretty close as far as the weight of the singles, so I'm hoping that I get a nice consistent yarn. So today is plying day. I can't wait. So of course I've been saying how I never use this this tensioner, and I had to use it tightened up almost to the max in order for this fiber to get on the bobbin. Look at how chubby this thing is. It's like, I don't even know how it was still going on the bobbin. And then I do still have this much fiber left that I will center pole ball and do a little mini skein from. But I didn't really think about the fact that this was two 4-ounce braids and this would be 8 ounces of yarn on a bobbin. And this bobbin that I used actually has a very thin core versus this with the thicker core. So there's even more yarn on here than I would have fit on a traditional Louet bobbin. This is the core of these 3D printed bobbins. You can see they're very, very thin. So you can get a lot more yarn on here than the traditional Louet bobbins, and still I packed that thing. So lesson learned, I can't do 8 ounces on a bobbin of thick yarn. Hello, I am so excited. I have the rest of the Zwartbles fiber all plied and washed and measured, and it turned out lovely. So first is the little mini skein. I had a little bit left over on one bobbin, and rather than try to splice it together with all the big yarn, I just decided to make a smaller little mini skein. The mini skein, actually, I didn't put as much twist in. So it's a little bit more lightly plied, and it's quite a bit plumper. It is about 11 to 12 wraps per inch. So it is quite a nice plump, bulky little mini skein. But the big skein, I actually had to, after I got it off the bobbin was ginormous. When I was doing the yardage or the meterage on it, I decided to go ahead and snip it and make 2 skeins out of it, because otherwise it was just this huge yarn baby. And so I made 2 smaller skeins out of it, and here they are. They're so pretty. I love how they turned out. They are so squishy and soft. The yarn did bloom quite a bit. They are about 8 to 9 wraps per inch, so it's about an Aran weight. This guy is 130 grams and 169.4 yards, or 154.9 meters. And then his little sister is also Aran weight, 8 to 9 wraps per inch, 88 grams and 113.1 meters, or 123.69 yards. So I just kind of visually pulled off what I thought was about half. I was off, but they're likely both going to be used together in the same project. So what did I think about the Zwartblest fiber? I really enjoyed spinning it. I do like an authentic, or what some people might call a rustic yarn. I like a little vegetative matter in there. I like the sheepy smell. I like just a little bit of, not scratch, but just a little prickle maybe. I don't mind that in a wool. I love this color. The one thing I will say about the fiber is, as I was washing it and as I was kind of cranking it off through the meter thing, there was a lot of cast off of fiber. I don't know whether that is typical of Zwartblest or if this was a combination of first and second cut. But I did get quite a bit of cast off. Really in the washing, I noticed it the most. There was a lot of fiber left in the bottom of the bucket. So that's interesting. I'm curious if that is a Zwartblest characteristic. If you know, I would love you to share your expertise in the comments. But yeah, that's beautiful. So let me know what you think I should make with an Aran Weight beautiful chocolatey brown fiber that is, what do we got, 290, about 290 plus yards, 299 yards maybe. Let me know what you would do with it and give me some ideas. I have no clue. I haven't even figured out what I'm going to do with the Cormo yet. But yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it. So that is Zwartblest. I loved the yarn. I loved learning about the Zwartblest sheep. It's definitely something that was really unique. It was interesting to really not have much direction on how to go with the yarn and kind of figure it out on my own. I loved it. So next is, and I may have done these out of order. I can't remember because I am behind on my boxes. Today's January 31st. 2 boxes left, January and December. I'm not sure whether Zwartblest was December or whether this one was, but this one is BFL. So it's BFL fiber, and it is in a humbug preparation. And humbug basically means it's both dark and light fiber. So yeah, I am excited to learn more about BFL. So it's going to be interesting to learn a little bit more, and I think I'm going to find a lot more information about this fiber than I did the others. So that's it for Zwartblest and what's to come. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Give us a subscribe so you can hang out with us in the future. And comment below. Let me know what you think, and any feedback is more than welcome. Thank you so much for watching. I really, really, really appreciate it, and I will see you next time. Bye.